Hello, my name is Suzanne Gray and I'm the Alzheimer Scotland Dementia Nurse Consultant for NHS Tayside. This week is Dementia Awareness Week. It runs from the 30th of May to the 5th of June, so I thought it might be helpful to put together a short presentation regarding dementia awareness. So just about this presentation, I'm hoping by the end of this presentation that we will have identified the more common causes of dementia and examine the impact of dementia not only on the person but those around. And hopefully we'll become a bit more clear about how to confidently communicate with people with dementia and discuss approaches which positively support people to live well, because it is possible to live very well with dementia for very many years with the right support. So why is dementia important? Well, it's important because it's a major public health challenge for us. It's predicted that by 2050, there could be over 1 million people worldwide living with this condition. So what is dementia? So this is the World Health Organization definition of dementia. And if you have a read through, you can see that it's much more than just memory. So dementia is almost like the umbrella term. So dementia is the symptoms, that's the symptoms that we see. But there will be an underlying illness causing those symptoms. And there are many illnesses which cause dementia symptoms, the most common one being Alzheimer's disease. So let's have a look at Alzheimer's disease. So it's the most common cause of dementia, regardless of what age you are. And it's typically a slow onset and a gradual decline in people's abilities. And it's characterized by damage in brain cells caused by plaques and tangles. So the plaques are protein, clumps of protein that prevent the cells working in the way that they should, and the tangles prevent messages being sent from different parts of the brain to other areas. So you can see in this illustration here, the healthy brain is fuller and has more healthy tissue, and you can see the advanced Alzheimer's brain has lost brain tissue. Vascular dementia is the second most common dementia in people over the age of 65. And it's nothing to do with plaques and tangles. It's caused by problems with the blood supply to the brain. So it's related to stroke disease. So it is possible sometimes to prevent the onset of vascular problems. So if you think about how you would go about preventing stroke disease, it's very similar. So trying to keep your blood pressure in check, having a healthy diet, not smoking, not drinking too much, not being too overweight, not having your cholesterol too high. So all these things can help prevent vascular dementia. And the decline in this type of dementia can sometimes be quite sudden. If you imagine someone has a stroke or a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, and then we would see a decline in that person's functioning. In people under the age of 65, the second most common dementia is frontotemporal dementia. And you can see here in the illustrations here, the scans here, in the person with Alzheimer's, the orange is healthy tissue. So you can see that most of the loss of tissues is at the bottom. So that's where memory, it's where short-term memory is managed, whereas in someone with frontotemporal dementia, the damage, the loss of the orange tissue is at the front. So the front of the brain is where we make decisions, where we judge risk, where our personality lies. So you can see changes in people's behaviour and attitude and personality in people with frontotemporal lobe dementia. Dementia with Lewy bodies is, again, back to proteins, as was frontotemporal dementia. But dementia with the Lewy bodies is closely related to Parkinson's disease. So you may see some of the symptoms of Parkinson's, such as a mask-like face or a shuffling forward movement and gait. It can be our tremor. It can be people can experience visual hallucinations, usually of children or animals, and the person's emotions can be quite fluctuate quite rapidly. And people with this type of dementia are highly sensitive to antipsychotic medication. There are many other types of illnesses that cause dementia. And some people, unfortunately, can have more than one at the same time. And again, the illustrations of scans, Pick's disease is a type of frontotemporal dementia. So you can see that you can compare the brain from a normal aging brain to the loss at the back of the brain for Alzheimer's and the loss at the front of the brain for people with frontotemporal dementia. So the early signs and symptoms, particularly in Alzheimer's disease, are forgetfulness. People may be able to describe in quite great detail events from 20, 30 years ago, but may have difficulty remembering what they did that morning or the night before. There can be a decline in managing day-to-day things, such as getting on the right bus or managing change at a checkout. There can be difficulty with finding the right word for things or forgetting words. And sometimes people can feel quite low, but don't understand why they may feel depressed. They may be unaware of memory loss. So it's not just memory. It can be so many other things. And spatial awareness is something that we haven't spoken about really yet. So maybe misjudging where to sit or multiple falls. Equally important is to mention what is not dementia. So dementia is not a normal part of aging. It's more than just being a bit forgetful. And it's important to rule out things such as conditions such as delirium and depression, because delirium and depression can sometimes be mistaken for dementia. And it's really important to understand that people with dementia are maybe more prone to developing delirium and depression, but that delirium and depression are treatable. So it's important that we rule those out. Early diagnosis is important for those people who wish a diagnosis, because it allows the person to have those discussions about how they would like their care to be in the future. And if there is any suitable or appropriate treatment, it can be commenced early so the person gets benefit earlier in their journey. And post-diagnostic support is really important in order for the person and the people around them supporting them to have the best quality of life possible. In the later stages, unfortunately, there is no cure for dementia. But it's important that people understand that you can live for many years with dementia, and it is possible to live well with dementia if you have the right support. And currently, there's a lot of work going on to take a palliative care approach to people with dementia. So looking after the person as a whole person from the beginning to the end of their journey. And I think we can possibly learn some lessons from the world of cancer care. Some people will lose the ability to communicate verbally as their condition, as their journey goes on. So it's really important to understand that just because someone can't communicate verbally with you doesn't mean to say that they can't communicate at all. And there's a lot of work going on about the importance of touch, therapeutic touch. So just because a person can't respond to you verbally, please don't think that they don't understand the message that you're trying to convey. So let's move on to understanding the impact of dementia on that person and others. So although I've just spent a bit of time explaining the symptoms, it's really important to understand that a person is not just a collection of symptoms. The person is a person. And everybody who experiences this illness will experience it differently, because we're all unique individuals, and therefore we will respond differently to it. So the person may be trying to make sense of an increasingly strange world because things are becoming less familiar. They may be disorientated for place, time, or person. They may have some difficulty in recalling significant events, and as I've said, may have some issues with verbal communication. And sometimes people do tend to focus on the negative and things that have been lost and what they can't do. So it's really important that when we support people, we build upon what the person is able to do, and that we provide opportunities for the person still to have a sense of purpose. So we bolster that person's self-confidence and self-esteem. And there can be some issues sometimes around sleep, appetite, and mood. So we need to be mindful of that. So when I speak to people with dementia, sometimes what they'll tell me is that they're losing their sense of self, that they feel that they don't have control over their lives anymore. And sometimes they feel that people are treating them in a different way. But many of the people that I've nursed over the years are very aware of what's going on and have high levels of insight, both into the here and now and the future. And one of the things that upsets people the most is the loss of status and roles. So whether that be in their family life or their professional life or hobbies and activities. So we really need to find innovative ways of providing opportunities for someone to feel good about themselves, to feel that they can still achieve and still offer things to others. So understandably, the person may appear less interested in hobbies or activities. They might be frightened that they might get some things wrong. They might appear reluctant to try new things. Again, there's that fear of the unknown and worrying that you're going to get things wrong. So they may have problems adapting to change, especially last minute change. And they may be less able to make decisions or plan in advance. And it might take longer to grasp an idea if there's many layers to it or if it's complex. And they might blame other people for things. You know, if the person can't remember where they've put their handbag, they may assume it's been stolen or someone's moved it. And they may have some difficulty in understanding other people's emotions. So the key points are, although the signs and symptoms of dementia are important, a person doesn't suddenly just become a collection of symptoms, and everyone will experience this illness differently. Early detection and diagnosis is important if the person wishes that, and really importantly, our attitude has a significant impact on the experience of dementia. So if we don't believe that you can live well with dementia, then the chances of that person that we're supporting in living well with dementia is vastly reduced. So it's important that we try to remain positive, and it is possible to live well with dementia. So it's really important that you see the person first, not the disease. The next thing I wanted to mention was the importance of the environment. So we know that the person may be struggling with familiar surroundings, and they may have issues around people coming into their home, and their communication and behaviour may be in response to their perception of the environment and what's going on. So we need to use our skills around empathy, patience, and understanding. But there are certain aspects, what we call disabling factors in the environment, that if we're aware of them, we can mitigate these and reduce the problems for people with dementia. So lighting is a key issue. As we age, we need at least 2 to 3 times more light than we normally would to see things as clearly as we did in our 20s. So best is natural daylight, but if not, a well-lit environment. Signage is really important. There's 3 elements to good signage. So that's about a picture or a symbol, a word in clear font, and the use of colour contrast. We don't want an environment that's too heavily furnished, because sound then disappears, it doesn't transmit. But likewise, we don't want somewhere that's too echoey, because that can be difficult. Undefined aisles, I'm talking about supermarkets, we'll come to that in a minute. Stairs, escalators, lifts, that recognizing where the edge of a step is or timing to get onto an escalator can be difficult. And then toilets, lack of seating, toilet areas tend to be white upon white upon white, a sea of white. So it can be difficult to actually see where the toilet is, actually see where the basin is. Assistive technology can be problematic. It can be really great, but it can be problematic too. Think about if you've ever been in a toilet with unusual fancy taps and you can't get the water to come on. And we really need staff that are going to be helpful and understanding of people with dementia. So if you're interested in dementia-friendly principles, design principles, this is a really great site to go and have a look at. It's from the Dementia Services Development Centre in the Stirling University, and they have virtual environments on their website, so you can see the little eye icons. If you hover your mouse on these, it will tell you why that feature is particularly dementia friendly. It's a really useful site to have a look at. I'm coming back to my aisles and my supermarkets now. So you can see the picture of the supermarket aisle. How on earth would you find what it is that you're looking for there? So it can be really confusing going into shops. But likewise, there are things that we can, so the example of the splodge on the floor is there's obviously been a promotion around sugar, but the goods have now been moved. So if the person was expecting to find sugar there, you can see that it's crisps that are there now. That's quite confusing. And the spillage, the pretend spillage on the floor may look real to the person. They may try and step over that and place themselves at risk of falling. So thank you very much for listening. If you would like to get in touch with me, please do so. The best way to get in touch with me is via email. So it's suzanne.gray5@nhs.scot. If you're looking for some more information or some support from Alzheimer Scotland, you can call their 24-hour helpline on 0808 808 3000, or you can email them on helpline@alzscot.org. Many thanks.